Day 2 in Ellsworth, Wisconsin for the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League. And tonight we're bringing you action from 2 Champions League classes that find themselves in the closest points battles in the entire series. The mini-rod tractors and superstock diesel trucks only have a couple of rounds on their season, and both classes have endured an extremely close points battle from the start. This is the second to last stop on the tour, and perfection is what's required for teams to solidify their championship dreams. Don't go anywhere. Day 2 of the Curd Capital Fall Nationals starts now. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Ellsworth, Wisconsin with the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League. You're watching the Optima Batteries Curd Capital Fall Nationals presented by K&N. We've got a couple of great categories coming your way. Ken Stout and Leslie Mears calling the action for you. We'll kick things off with our Superstock Diesel Truck category, and then we'll have the mini-rod tractors coming up a little bit later on.
Yeah, this is exciting. Day 2 of action here for everyone in Ellsworth. And the Superstock diesel trucks surely did not disappoint one day ago with an amazing pull-off. I think we have 8 trucks in that pull-off and just a sight to see. So I can't wait to see what these guys have for us today.
Just 2 hooks left in the season, and Leslie spoke with Terry Biggs a little bit earlier.
So Terry Biggs drew the #1 spot tonight for our Superstock diesel truck class. And so you've been out here seeing him groom the track. So what are your thoughts so far on what you're going to get as that first one out?
I think it's going to be a really consistent track tonight. It's not as loose as it was last night, but I think it's going to hold together pretty good. I think the rain helped it a lot.
And so being that #1 spot, do you have kind of a rule as far as like if you have to go a certain distance to keep your hook or if you're going to turn it down?
I would say rule of thumb, if it's over 300, I'm going to keep it.
What about under 300? Is it just a judgment call or you just have to feel it and see how it hooks up?
As a general rule, I usually don't turn them down, but normally if it's below 200 or 300, they'll reset it normally.
So here we go, first hook of the class to kick things off. Boy, it sounded like something happened there and just tugged that thing down below the turbo. It just did not have the required boost to keep digging hard. And he'll end that one a bit short at 233 and 47. I'm sure he'll drop it, and I also wonder if it was just the sled was just too heavy.
We'll take a look here and see if we can identify when that sled tops off. It does come on him pretty early in the hook. Usually for these guys, we see that sled top off about 275 feet. And so maybe they're putting the brakes on them early to try to prevent the huge pull-off that they had one day ago.
And we'll take a look at the pulling order here. As you can see, Jeffrey Miffick with the triple alpha process will be up next. The 2 points leaders are Kent Crowder and Cody Hastings, separated by just 4 points. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But to give you an idea, of course, where our players are at, and Terry Biggs, as we just saw, has dropped that one and will go down to the bottom of the pulling order. Here comes Jeffrey Miffick and the triple alpha process. Yikes! Wow, that one really got ugly there as that thing started to hop a bit and he was not able to drive through it or recover, and it just got progressively worse until finally it ended. The question is, did he go past 100 feet? And he did, 141 and 11. If he was less than 100, he could have given it another shot. But that one will go in the books as we take a look at the points here.
Just amazing how close it is coming down the stretch. We've really got 2 battles going on. It's right now the battle for first between the Shy Diesel and against the grain trucks. And then check out the battle for third and fourth. You know, Van Hazley has really been coming on strong lately, chasing down Chase Eller, who is holding down third place so far.
Here comes Eric Stacy and the Smoking You Machine out of Ohio. And we had to get 3 trucks in to finally see one go full steam there. That's what they look like when they apply the power. And look at that distance, 3:38 and 37. So it just appears as though the first couple of guys really struggled. Well, we know for sure that Jeff Miffick did, but whatever happened to Terry Biggs there certainly wasn't an indication of that sled.
And Stacy experiencing some of those same struggles because he had to have a lot of patience on the throttle. And, we talk often about how this is a driver's class, and he was really pedaling the throttle. You didn't see full song until probably about 250 feet, and that's because he had to wait some more to get that sled to hook up before he could finally apply all the power.
Todd Dugan coming up here next, and the Angry Farmer, and you're absolutely right. They can knock the tires off these things at will in the beginning, so they have to wait until this thing is gripped up before they can really feed it everything. And Todd right there really displaying how to get it done as well. Nice smooth effort. He goes 3:17 and 48. So once they get the power down, man, these things are certainly capable of dragging that sled.
Yeah, the same line that we saw from the Smokin' Ya machine. A lot smoother and a lot more aggressive earlier. And so he's thinking that maybe if he applies the power to the ground, gets the ground speed up, the sled moving very quickly, that he's going to be able to extend his distance past Stacy. But unfortunately, you need just a little bit more patience to wait before the power goes into the ground.
So the Ford jumps up into second place. As we continue on here, finally up and running with the Superstock diesel trucks, and plenty of great trucks yet to come inside of the category.
The Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League is brought to you by General Tire. Anywhere is possible. K&N, superior airflow, superior performance. And by Lucas Oil, made in America, sold to the world.
And the water tower here at Ellsworth, Wisconsin for the Altima Batteries Curd Capital Fall Nationals, presented by K&N Filters, as the fans have rolled in here to watch the best in the Superstock diesel truck category go at it. Beautiful day out here, a little bit brisk, good for some horsepower, and here comes Craig Dickey with the Cummins Killer 2, was up on the podium back at Hillsboro, and Leslie had a chance to speak to him.
So it's been a little bit of a struggle this year for the Cummins Killer. So, Craig, what are some of the issues that you've had? I know Terre Haute was a big weekend of devastation as far as breakage is concerned for you guys.
Yeah, down at Shides there, we wrecked 2 pistons the first night, and we overhauled the motor. Went out the second night, and it didn't go so well for us, and we burned down 2 pistons. So over this last week, I pulled the motor all apart and replaced all those sleeves and pistons. We're starting over fresh, and let's see what that is. We got some parts on here to do some testing to see if we got an injector misfiring or stuff, and S&S Fuel is helping us out to try to figure out some of these problems.
See how things work out for him. Not chasing points this year. And pretty smooth effort there, but will not get them out there where they need to be at 286 and 47.
Yeah, and for these guys, it's just about trying to make sure that those parts hold up and they can really figure it out. And it takes a little bit different line here, and that's going to be critical for this class because they have a tendency to be what we often call sheep. You know, they just kind of follow each other out there, take the same line on the track. And so to see a guy move out of the groove, it's a little bit different. Didn't have the success he was looking for as well. So watch that. Watch for all of our guys here in this category to maybe stay over towards that left-hand side of the track.
Here comes the caretaker, Chase Eller out of Lafayette, Tennessee, up on the podium at 2 of the biggest hooks, including Terre Haute and Hillsboro with this truck. comes in here third in the points, puts together a good effort here at 3:16 and 58, and falls in third place as it stands now.
Yeah, trying to use ground speed as his friend. I mean, this is just a really super fast pass that we see from him, but doesn't get that smoke cleaned up for a while. And so for you guys at home, that shows that he's really pedaling that throttle and really working those tires to try to get it to hook up. And, you know, it was really that fine line between barking those tires loose on the line because the sled is so heavy, you know, when it's not rolling weight, that they've got to get it moved off the line, and then keeping it moving forward as quickly as possible. It's really hard for these guys.
Here comes Kent Crowder in the Scheid Diesel, fresh off of a win from one round to go right here at Ellsworth, and Leslie had a chance to speak to him.
So Kent Crowder comes up with a big win just one day ago here in Ellsworth, and that puts you, Kent, 4 points up over Cody Hastings. But it seems like this season that you've had some stretches where you've been really consistently good, and then maybe you've fallen off a little. So have you made some changes to try to improve, and that's what's going on there?
We've done a little work to the truck, mainly just tires and maintenance, but it's been up and down. I think misreading the track's been the biggest problem for us this year, I know.
So knowing that you've got kind of a handle on the track from last night, you know, what kind of data do you have going into today that you think might help you?
I think we can got a pretty good idea. This little shower this afternoon probably didn't hurt anything, so we should have a pretty similar track to last night, so hopefully we can do her again.
He's really had an incredible season with a total of 7 podiums and 5 of those on top of the box. And burns that one in at 3:19 and 79. That'll be good enough to jump up into second place.
And the shower that he mentioned would add more much needed moisture to this side of the track. You know, Terry Biggs, who went out first, talked about how it was a little loose just one day ago. And so getting that moisture on top will help pack it in on top and then let the moisture from underneath come up as the pull goes on and as they're working up the track over the course of the night. So it'll add some tack and add some grip for these guys that they need if they're going to leg it out there and get past Eric Stacy and smoking you.
Just 3 trucks between Kent Crowder and Cody Hastings, who's second in points, and the first of those 3 will be Justin Gerhardt and the cream of the crop. Justin and this truck were good enough to grab a win at Hillsboro. Unfortunately, they're going to miss the mark here today, well short at 293 and 69.
And you can see just how frustrated he is with himself on this effort. And, you know, this back half of the season has been a little bit more challenging for him. You know, he had some broken parts at Terre Haute, and that's something we just don't see out of the cream of the crop team. And so trying to dial it in, you know, make those changes necessary with the new parts that he had to put on after that hook, and just yield a good effort here to move forward.
Next up will be Van Hazley, actually competing with 2 different trucks this year. This is the off constantly and comes in here 8th in the points. However, did miss a hook at Wapakoneta, and that's a big portion of it. We'll see him a little bit later on as he is one of those trucks battling for 3rd place as well with the Rock Hard Ram. And you can see him driving the wheels off of it. It started to hop there, and he pulled way back on the throttle. And the second it settled down, he really leaned back on the throttle. It is so cool to watch how these guys work behind the wheel.
That and the fact that he was able to stick it back to full throttle and then ride out those hops. And that's really, really impressive that he could do that. And that just comes from lots of years of experience and driving. And this is the truck for their team, as I've mentioned before, that they're really trying to get lined out and on the straight and narrow. And they've done that this weekend with the top 5 effort one day ago and a decent one here today.
We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. Stay with us. Sun has set here at Ellsworth, Wisconsin at the Optima Batteries Curd Capital Fall Nationals presented by K&N Filters. We're covering the Superstock diesel trucks here. Just 2 hooks left, including this one tonight, 2019 season. Here comes Steve Blogdon. Old and hostile. What a great looking truck.
I love the flat black too. Just gives it an awesome appeal.
Trying to drive through those hops, as we just saw a few moments ago when Van Hazley was able to pull it off, but just could not get it through there.
And the other thing that our four-wheel drive truck pullers have to contend with too is getting close to those white lines and not having any working brakes to help them guide their vehicle back to the center of the track. So if you get in a situation like this, you know, where you're hopping and maybe you think you're going to head towards the sideline, you have to use your front drive tires to steer it back towards the center of the track. Well, when you do that, you know, you're losing, you know, a lot of your power that you're trying to put into the ground by steering over to the center. It'd be the same thing with the slingshot effort where you're dragging the grouser bars sideways. And so, you know, lots of challenges here in the category, and that's why we call it a driver's class.
Here comes Cody Hastings, second in the points, 8 podiums so far this season. He needs to maintain here with Kent Crowder in this chase for the championship. Oh, something broke. It looked like something broke. I saw the truck just kind of bang in the back about mid-hook. And he's going to end up well short of where he needs to be, 251 and 76 to Kent's 319 and 79. This could prove disastrous.
And I love the beginning of this hook because you can tell he's got it wicked up, he's ready, he's bringing something for Kent Crowder. But as you see that truck kind of arch up, I wonder if it wasn't something in the drivetrain, and that could be a tribute to the fact that he had a huge, super long pull one day ago in his first effort before the pull-off. So I'm wondering if in that long effort, he didn't damage something then, and now it's just rearing its ugly head for him one day later.
Yeah, I showed up here on this track that clearly everybody's trying to drive through here as all the trucks are bouncing to a degree, and put some pressure on it, and it gave up. This is Caden Merton and the boost truck. And again, that one's starting to hop, and he just pulls the plug on it, says, that's it right there, man. I'm not going to break this thing. And this track throwing some curveballs at these guys.
When a tribute to Caden here as a driver, this is his first pass ever in a super stock diesel truck, and we saw his dad podium one day ago in this truck, and so I think he's just being a lot more conservative, you know, to get a feel for it and to know and to not have the experience of driving through that and staying in the throttle. I think he made the right move to just back out of it before he did have any kind of damage.
I'm sure they had a discussion about it as well. If this thing really starts to hop, just pull the plug. It's not a big deal. We don't want to break it. And yeah, I agree with you. Great move, smart move there. And just get a little bit of seat time, learn something from it, and you'll do better next time. Jim Greenway coming up here next with the Gertrude machine. Man, and again, it shows up a violent hop there, and boy, he really put on a fire show there as he was spooling that one up as well, but he'll pull the plug early on this effort.
Yeah, big tune-up, water injection comes on, puts that flame out in the stack, and it just goes to show how light the rear axle of this truck is. You know, that front weight box out there, 2,000 to 3,000 pounds, and so once he lets go, that's why you see that hop in the back.
And Jim has to quickly pull that one forward, hop out of it, and run back and hop inside of the next one because he's also driving the truck known as Luther. Comes in here 6th in the points, and now he's seen what this track is going to feed him. We'll find out if he can get around it. Well, for sure, a much better effort there as you saw him pull back on the throttle twice, and that thing started to hop and then get back after it. 300.53.
Still running it a little lean though, because as the pull progressed, the fire goes out in the beginning, but as he starts to burn it in at the end of the run, you see it come back. And so trying to make a lot of horsepower on this track to get a good effort out of Luther. And it's just been really tough on him and his team this year, running two in the same category. He's used to running two vehicles, but to have them in the same class, it just doubles down on your efforts and makes things a lot more stressful.
Here's a look at the top three, and we still have some players yet to come, including Van Hazley, who's up next. This is the Optima Batteries Curd Capital Fall Nationals presented by K&N Filters. We're in Ellsworth, Wisconsin. 2 trucks yet to go here in the Superstock diesel truck category. Van Hazley will be one of those in the Rock Hard Ram, chasing the Caretaker, who is currently 3rd in the points. Van 4th in the points, and right behind him is the Deadpool truck. And a great effort there by Van. Does the old slingshot move from right to left and gets through that rough patch. Puts 309 and 68 on the board.
Yeah, and to his benefit here, knows that the whole shot is over on the right sideline, but he's watched everybody struggle mid-track. So what does he do? He steers it towards the left sideline to avoid that patch, lengthens his pull, and yeah, he does probably go a little bit farther if he keeps it straight, but he's going to hit that patch that has given everyone so many problems. And so that's where a veteran guy like that uses that old technique to get the whole shot that he needs to get his ground speed up, but to avoid that patch in the track that's going to cause him to hop and possibly cause some mechanical damage.
And while it was a great effort, unfortunately it was not as good as the Caretaker, who he was chasing for 3rd in the points. Here comes our final hook of the class, Terry Biggs and the Deadpool. And we saw Terry Biggs at the top of the show and just did not have a good hook. He dropped it, comes back to pull now and puts 301 and 40 on the board, so it was a good call.
Yeah, most definitely. Got the mechanicals lined out, but he also told me that he likes to watch a few trucks run just to get a feel for the track, and definitely works to his benefits. Even though he still hit some of those hops that everybody else did, not as bad, and definitely not taking his toll on his machine like it did the others.
Oh, he'll fall in line behind Van Hazley, as well as those 3 trucks continue that battle for 3rd in the points with just 1 hook yet to go inside of the season. Well, let's go down to the podium and talk to our winner, Eric Stacy. He was the 4th truck in class to hook to the sled.
So Eric Stacy picks up the win here at one of the final hooks of the season here for the Champions Tour. And all that hard work that you put into the new chassis, the new parts that you're testing, it's finally paying off for you.
Yeah, it's been a long year. We've had a lot of little things go wrong. It's kept us out of the winner's circle this year, and you just keep hoping and praying that finally your luck's going to turn around and get there. But if it wasn't for Dave Price and Nate Bowes at Sandridge Custom and Larry and Lisa Peterson from ProFab Machine, these guys, if it wasn't for them, this is not possible. They're the best, and I'm just happy they're here for the first win, and hopefully we can roll this into next year and take off where we stopped here.
Here's a look at the final distance, and boy, did Eric Stacy put it on the boys here tonight. That is a massive number over 2nd place, and keep in mind, Kent Crowder, no joke, he's leading in the points here with just 1 hook yet to go. Well, speaking of Kent Crowder, he makes it 8 podiums and 11 hooks so far this season.
Well, if you're going to stay in the points lead, you got to be a gambling man, and that's what you were tonight, Kent, running that right sideline. Why did you decide to go over there when no one else had been there yet tonight?
Well, we saw some really tough trucks run up that left line where we did good last night, but they just kept falling back, so we said we got to try something different. Nobody'd been on the right side, so we threw it over there.
Well, and it really took you for a ride at the end because it kind of whipped you down there.
Yeah, there was a groove in that track or something about sucking it sideways, but got through it and pulled off a 2nd, so couldn't be happier.
Yeah, great finish for you this weekend to try to extend that points lead.
Yep, we should have a pretty good gap now.
And here's a look at the points. As we talked about coming in here, just a 4-point spread between the top two, and now 18 points with Cody Hastings unfortunately having a tough hook here tonight. So Kent Crowder just needs to put together one more effort at the final hook of the season at Waynesburg. He'll be crowned the champion. Let's go down and talk to Todd Dugan.
Todd Dugan picks up third place tonight in the Angry Farmer truck, and a relative newcomer here, finishing third. Very exciting for you here with the tough group of trucks we've got this weekend.
Very excited, very happy to be with the PPL, Lucas Oil. I'd like to thank Shy Diesel for all their help trying to get us ready tonight. Nancy, my crew, Jamie Stevens and her wonderful daughter Nicole, and yeah, we finished third. Glad to be here. A little rough on the ride up here, but more than worth the trip.
Okay, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, it'll be big engines on small tractors. It's the mini rods, and boy, are they exciting. Stay with us.
The Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League is brought to you by Geico, saving people money on more than just car insurance. Super Clean, not just clean, super clean. And by Optima Batteries, the ultimate power source.
Once again, we're back here at the Optima Batteries Curd Capital Fall Nationals presented by K&N Filters. Time now for the mini rod tractors. We're down to the final 3 hooks for this category, and the top 3 in the points were all on the podium. Just 1 round to go here at Ellsworth just a day ago. Tyler Slaw, part of that group in terms of team. It was his father, Bruce, that was up on the podium, but Tyler hooked before Dad, went back, gave him some good notes, and they capitalized on it. Well, they better throw the red flag soon, otherwise he's going to be out of the county here. 373.03, and you've got to think they'll probably take a good look at that sled.
It looked like he even backed out of it at the very end, but a super smooth pass here for him. And this new chassis is just working oh so well. You can see that he feels it going over towards that left-hand sideline, got the front tires turned, gave it a little bit of brake, but he was still way into the throttle, and it looked like he had a little bit more for him out there.
The other thing was kind of one-wheeling all the way down there as well, but it stayed nice and straight for the most part. As we take a look at our pulling order here. Tough category, as we've talked about, and it's really grown, it's really expanded over the past couple of years, and the talent inside of it is now very deep. Any number of these tractors can win.
And it's nice to see we've got a mix of wily veterans and anxious newcomers as well. And so it's a great mix in the categories to see the young and old mix.
8 different tractors up on the podium so far this season throughout our first 8 hooks. Leslie had a chance to speak with Jesslyn a little bit earlier.
So it's been a little bit of an experimental year here for Jesslyn Fagundes, and one of those things that you've been battling this year is kind of fine-tuning your engine, kind of an experimental year, changing to the different atmospheres that you're pulling in.
Yes, we've struggled all year, but we're trying to learn things at each track to make us better and better. Last night we had an unfortunate night. We went out of bounds. We lost a lot of tire pressure after because it got so cool, so hopefully we can learn our lesson tonight.
Yeah, it's just fine-tuning, like the little things. And I mean, you had a great pass on. So do you feel like the tractor is really coming around, like you made a lot of gains this year so far?
I thought so, and then last night happened, so kind of bumped me back down. But luckily I have people with me that are the best of the best, really, and they've helped me out a lot. So I'm lucky to have them around.
And of course, she's talking about the Sullivan pulling team, and they bring her to and from events. She rides in their trailer. And of course has a deep connection there with Brant Sullivan as well.
And Jesslyn on board with a not done machine goes 3:08 and 37. And my apologies, I said 8 different people have been on the podium in the first 8 hooks. Well, 3 of those 8 hooks were rained out, so it's even tighter than that. It shows how tough this category is, and she puts together a nice one here.
Yeah, she gets it lined out early, and you can tell that they've definitely put the brakes on him here. Tightened up that sled. They're hitting the trip on the pan so that the pan drops a little bit sooner for them out there. Those grouser bars digging in, but having an issue keeping it straight. So good use of the brake to keep it out there, but she posts a big number early. It's going to be tough to beat.
Here's a look at the points coming in. As you can see, it is tight up there in the top three, really battling for this championship, but with 3 hooks left, the top 5 certainly are still well within reach of winning this championship. It's going to be a great battle right to the very end.
And those last 3 hooks are tough. I mean, we're talking about here at Ellsworth, Lucas Oil Speedway, and then Waynesburg, Pennsylvania, which always throws everyone for a loop.
Here comes Donnie Bauer. Just missed the podium 1 hook ago, and Leslie spoke to him.
So we talked to Donnie Bauer at Hillsboro, Wisconsin. He talked about having some issues with the engine. So it looked like you were struggling a little bit with that again last night. So what have you learned over the course of the season to make some changes to perform better?
We're thinking that we're running too low of a gear, that we need to gear up, and basically we need to run the tractor a little more mild, and which means basically give it more gear so we can hold the RPMs down. That's what we're finding right now.
But everybody wants to be a little bit more aggressive, and everybody wants to, you know, kind of put it out there a little bit harder. And so is that kind of hard for you to think about taming it down a little bit?
Especially for me, because I'm used to running wide open all the time. I do not like to back down, but if that's what it's going to take to make the whole points race, you know, that's what we're going to have to do. I'm just going to have to come to that realization. So it's hard for me just to say, well, we're going to back down a little bit or we're not. And I would rather not, but I want to make the whole season.
It worked out well for him a day ago as he finished up 4th overall, and here we'll go 3:04 and 55, so a couple of feet behind Jesslyn Fagundes.
And I really think that, you know, by making those changes that he's talking about, it's going to give him a lot more drivability and a lot more control. And that's sometimes what you need to think about in this category, is to have that ability to have more control so that you don't one wheel and you don't get the tractor upset so easily, and you can extend those distances.
Here comes a guy that knows that little sweet spot of aggression without going too far, and was on the podium 1 round ago. He finished up 2nd here. He does have a win at Henry, also finished 2nd at Hillsboro, and he's looking for a win here. We've got a new leader, 3:16 and 86 for Bill Leischner.
Yeah, taking advantage of a great opportunity for him to gain some points today. And, you know, it's Bill Leischner doing Bill Leischner things out here, making a nice straight pass. It starts to sway just a little bit to the right, tapping those brakes ever so lightly so he doesn't lose his power going into the ground, because he knows he's got to put up a big number. And, you know, for a lot of these guys, if they're ahead of their contender, you know, in that lineup, they want to make sure that they can put their best foot forward, get that big distance up early, so the other guy has to go over top of them.
There's a look at your top 3 with plenty yet to come here inside of the mini rod category. We'll be right back. Back here at the Optima Batteries Kurt Capital Fall Nationals, presented by K&N Filters, covering the mini rod tractors. We're in Ellsworth, Wisconsin. As you take a look at the water tower there, fans happy to see the best in truck and tractor pulling come out here and put on a show for them. Here comes Bruce Slaw, the tractor called Show No Mercy, out of Michigan, and came out here 1 night ago, which, courtesy of General Tire, we're going to take you back to here with our flashback. He put it on top of the box.
Yeah, teamwork at its best. His son Tyler was an earlier hook in the class, came back, transferred that knowledge back to the pits, and Bruce just really hanging that front end out there. Perfectly weighted machine, great power going into the ground, and just riding it all the way out there to the end and burning those tires into the very last to get that extra distance he needed to take the win.
Comes in here 3rd in the points. and goes 3:08 and 39. Good hook right there. I mean, it'll jump him up into second place by the smallest of margins, ahead of Jesslyn Fagundes, who went 3:08 and 37. However, the guy he wants to get around is Bill Leischner, and just did not get that done.
Still a great effort for him, though. He's got a podium contention out here. I think the thing about this pull is that the front end was up, but it just kept wavering. And so each time that it would come down and then it would pull back up, it's driving more power into the tires, but it's also taking a lot of power to lift it back up. And so losing a little bit of what he needed to extend his distance there with that.
Here comes Donnie Bauer on the Cynics machine, who missed the podium by one spot. And he's going to end up right there in that little area that both Jesslyn Fagundes and Bruce Slaw ended up in, just a tick short of those two at 3:07.05.
Yeah, bettered his first distance by about 2.5 feet here. And you can see he's a little wild off the line, but once the tractor settles in, he's got those tires hooked up good in the back, a lot more drivability by making those changes that he talked about earlier in the show. And so really yielding some good efforts for him here.
With 8 points between first and third, this next hook is critical for Richard Peters. He is the points leader coming in here, and he knows what he has to do. He's got to get in front of Bruce Slaw, who went 3:08 and 39, and Bill Leischner, who went 3:16 and 86.
And with this effort one day ago, he really hurt his clutch, and so he had to really scramble today to get the parts he needed to put the Buckeye Special back together.
And it just did not hang that front end like it did one round ago before he hurt that clutch can in the distance. 295 and 23 is well short, and that's going to really tighten things up here in this championship run.
Wow. I mean, it's a good-looking run. However, I think that just those replacement parts just not up to stuff with what he's normally running out there, and that transfer of power also critical going back to that rear end. And so unfortunately for the Buckeye Special here, it's going to be a loss of points, and now he can just hope that some guys fall back behind him so he doesn't lose as many to the Bobcat Junior team.
Yeah, and that is enough to put Bill Leischner up into the points lead. 4 tractors between them already is 8 points. There was only a 4-point deficit between first and second, and we're not finished yet, as Leslie went down to speak with Laura Shanklin.
So this is year 3 for Laura Shanklin and the Lost Sheep. And Laura, I feel like this is the year that you've really kind of turned the corner. And you told me it was Goshen. So what was it about Goshen, even though you went out of bounds, where you gained so much confidence?
Well, Goshen is a familiar place. It's my 3rd year being there, and I wanted it really bad. So I just was like, you know what, we're gonna just do this for real this time. And I just went out and I just felt like I owned it. And then I went out of bounds. But you know what? I still felt like I gave it my best. So I was happy with that. And ever since then, I've just been a lot more confident about going out there and owning it.
Well, and it seems like, too, you're a little bit more confident in your setup. And you told me you're catching things, kind of before they happen. So how has that helped you?
Definitely by, we catch it before it happens, so I'm not out there having a good run and then it goes boom. We catch it before and I get to finish my run, then we look it over again, catch it some more, and we're just getting down the track a lot better.
Yeah, nice effort out here one day ago, finishing inside of the top 5. Congrats to her, and we'll see how they do here this evening. And obviously issues right off the bat, parts and pieces coming off of that one. The blower belt right along with it. Looked like the pulley down in there came apart, and that ended her effort early.
Yeah, without that supercharger, really at a loss for power. And so unfortunate because, as she mentioned, she's gaining confidence. And you can tell that she had something for this track. She got her wheel stand up, and that's where you see it let go. Just powers down the motor completely. And so that's something that you don't normally have an issue with, is that blower belt. So now they'll have that in their sights to double check before each and every run.
One tractor yet to go. Tyler Slaw on the Have No Mercy, and certainly capable of winning it all. Stay with us. We'll find out if he can pull it off.
The Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League is brought to you by General Tire, anywhere is possible. Rhino Ag, born to lead. And by Lucas Oil, made in America, sold to the world.
And we're back here at the Optima Batteries Kurt Capital Fall Nationals presented by K&N Filters. One tractor yet to go here in the mini rod tractor category at Ellsworth, Wisconsin. It'll be Tyler Slaw. He was the first one to hook to the sled and nearly drug it to the next county. They had to pull that thing back. He went 373 plus. They said, yeah, let's tighten that thing up a little bit, make it a little tougher for you guys. So we'll find out what he has here. Well, they slowed him down, but they didn't slow him down enough not to grab the first position. It looked like Bill Leishner would sneak a win out of here, but not the case. Tyler Slaw puts together another incredible effort and goes 326 and 86, exactly 10 feet on Bill Leishner.
Just so amazing here, and I really think it was that test pass that gave him the confidence to do this. You can see him looking over the shoulder for the leader cone. But when you come out and make a solid effort like that, it just really kind of pumps you up, gives you the confidence you need. And of course, his dad, Bruce, the first one to congratulate him on that big win.
Yeah, and you got to think Dad's probably thinking, man, I wish I had that hook right there. I'd jump up there and quite possibly be in the points lead, but it will be a tight run right down to the bottom for the championship. Let's talk to Bill.
So a great weekend here for the Bobcat Jr. climbing in those points, and it was a really solid pass for you, Bill, but it looked like the nose got up just a little high on you.
Yeah, we even lowered the drawbar for the first time, and it got a little high, but it was smooth. It felt pretty good. It was a hell of a pass when we ran, and well, those slaws, it's hard to get around. We got two of them to get around, and Shannon working for Boyd's building those engines, but we're trying to get around them, and we're in the points lead, so it's going to be fun going to Wheatland and then on to Waynesburg. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, just an exciting weekend for your team, making that hard charge at it.
Yeah, we've had a good weekend. These guys work hard. I got to thank the team. Jids works his butt off on that, and Bob Boyd, and we got the Reeds here helping us. That's what makes this work. They do all the work and warm it up, and it's such a good crew. It makes it easy for me to try to read the track. And we moved the sled over in a smoother spot and took off, and we had a good run tonight. And we got to thank the Boer family, our friends from Holland. They make this possible. They're the ones that own this. They're the ones that turn us loose to do this. And they're just awesome competitors. They won the Euro Championship tonight with their 4-engine tractor, and we just owe them a lot of gratitude. And the friendship and the teammates, it's awesome.
Yeah, that's great stuff, and that camaraderie between those two teams has been exceptional. Here's a look at the final order. Congratulations to Tyler Slaw coming out here as the last hook in the category to put it up on a gang, and Bill Leishner and Bruce Slaw rounding out your top three. Let's go back down to the podium, and we'll talk to Bruce.
Bruce Slaw showing some consistency this weekend here with your tractor, and so critical to the points race for you to have these good finishes.
Yeah, we gained on Rick pretty good this weekend, but with the Bobcat team, they run really tough. I don't know if I can catch them or not. I gained a couple points on them yesterday. They gained a couple on me today, but time will tell. It's been a good year.
Yeah, but that's what it's all about, coming down to the heat of the battle in that final event.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. It's no fun out here if you dominate all the time. We like to once in a while, but we can't do it all the time.
Yeah, here's a look at the points. Boy, it's just going to be a lot of fun going into the final two hooks of the season. Leishner, as expected, on top of the points now by 6 over Richard Peters, who came in here as the points leader. And Bruce Slaw tied up with Richard Peters now for second in the points. Great stuff for sure. Let's go down and talk to our winner.
Tyler Slaw picks up his second Champions Tour win here tonight with that smoking fast pass down there, finishing up on that right sideline.
You got to love it when everything goes right. The horsepower gets down to the ground and just goes straight. Don't have to hit a brake. We're so happy.
Yeah, and a great weekend for your team, too, picking up those points as we go into that final hook for the championship.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to catch the Bobcat. Maybe my dad's got a chance, but we'll see.
Never miss a pull. Go to propulling.com/set reminder to add all of the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League airings to your personal calendar. Receive a calendar reminder minutes before each event airs.
We enjoyed coming up here to Ellsworth, Wisconsin. What a beautiful part of the country to do some truck and tractor pulling. Remember, you can go to propulling.com to keep up with all the latest news and action. We'd love to see you at one of our events. For Leslie Mears, I'm Ken Stout. Thanks for watching the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League.